Welcome back to Market on Close. I'm Sam Vadas, live from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange alongside Alex Coffey in our Chicago headquarters. Just some final thoughts and takeaways on today's session as we ponder the day that was. Obviously, we've seen the odds of a December rate cut rising in the market. We're up at about 80% as far as the probability right now being priced in. Obviously, we got this editorial or at least commentary out of the Wall Street Journal as well about how Mary Daly is now backing a December rate cut. But the market got even more Fed commentary earlier this morning, seemingly keeping those expectations alive. Fed Governor Christopher Waller indicating that the jobs data warrants another rate cut at the December meeting, but then suggesting they may go meeting by meeting depending on the flood of data that they have to catch up with after the government shutdown. Now, the comments, of course, were coming off the back of Williams's comments on Friday, which really revived those rate-cutting bets with his remarks last week. Now, positive developments also in the US-China relationship today. President Trump taking to Truth Social, saying that he had a very good call with President Xi Jinping. According to Trump, they discussed many topics, including Ukraine, Russia, fentanyl, soybeans, and other farm goods, adding that he will go to Beijing in April and Xi will visit the US later next year. Earlier in the day, Chinese state media reported on the call, saying Xi reinforced China's position on Taiwan. Now, the timing of the call was notable because it came after a weekend of diplomacy in Geneva discussing a peace plan to bring an end to the war in Ukraine. So very interesting as far as some of the geopolitical cross currents there, Alex. But what caught your eye in the session today?
You know, I looked at it more today in the context of the last several, and to me, today was an impressive bounce back, Sam, for the AI trade, and that was a trade that desperately needed the bounce back. But I do raise the question, I have throughout today's session, are we witnessing a changing of the guard in terms of the leadership of this AI trade? Has Alphabet stepped into that role? When you think about the stock price of Alphabet, and John just mentioned that in our last segment and its performance over the last several weeks, and then contrast that with what we've seen in terms of the NVIDIA whipsaw post-earnings. So, you know, for me, that is really the big question mark. And is that something that can be sustained into the end of the year? As far as things heading into tomorrow, Sam, we had some disruption with some of the events that were on the calendar. But what's caught your eye?
Yeah, I just want to touch on that, Alex. It's interesting what you just said, because we did actually see Alphabet managing to rally without NVIDIA today. In fact, tech was up higher when NVIDIA was lower this morning. And as we say, we have seen some of that rotation as far as leadership. But let's see if that catches on and continues. You raised such an interesting point there. Yes, we will be continuing to watch these earnings tomorrow. And we're going to be hearing from Barber, which had a very good day today. I'm just seeing it was up at 5.1%. This is obviously coming off the back of its data in terms of the downloads for its Qwen or Qwen app that it has now, which aims to take on the ChatGPTs of the world. So over 10 million downloads, which were some pretty good numbers. But we're obviously going to be watching out to see what this company has to say about the cloud side of the business, obviously with its core business around e-commerce as well. And, you know, as it continues to be engaged in this sort of price wars with other companies like your JDs and your Meituans of the world, what it's going to say about that side of the equation. But this is really one of the companies that is geared very closely to the Chinese economy, which we know is facing a bit of a slowdown. We're also going to be hearing from Dell. AI server shipments is going to be a key focus. Margin resilience, Alex, as well, particularly off the back of those surging memory prices.
Yeah, you know, I'll put an asterisk next to this because who knows what we'll get. But assuming we get retail sales and we get PPI tomorrow morning, that's what's on my mind.
Yep, we're going to be crunching the micro. We're going to be crunching the macro, obviously, with a little bit more information when it comes to the inflation picture as well. Perhaps a little bit backwards looking, perhaps a little bit stale, but at least it's going to tell us a little bit more about that trend moving forward and what that could potentially mean for the December rate cut if and when that does happen. The market's currently pricing in an 80% chance. That's going to do it for us. Thanks, Alex.